Hello and welcome to Long Beach Lens. I'm your host, Darick J. Simpson, Executive Director of the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Our first guests are from Trees to the Rescue. Please join me in welcoming Greg Stewart and Lenore Brown. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi.
I can't wait to hear about Trees to the Rescue, and that's why we invited you. And for those who don't know, including myself, share more. Let's start with you, Lenore. And what is Trees to the Rescue?
Well, we are a grassroots community organization,
Okay.
and our goal is to help homeowners get free trees to plant in their parkways.
Okay.
And the reason we're doing that is because trees will help
Pollution
and
air
specifically
quality
taking
and-
CO2 out of the air.
Right. Now, Greg, when you think about this, I know like in Rose Park neighborhood where I live,
Yeah.
they were planting trees, but then people have to care for the trees after
do.
they're planted.
Yeah,
So
watering.
what's the rub there?
Yeah,
How does that
watering
happen?
is the big issue.
Right.
And that's why the Long Beach program with the Sustainability Office, which is whom we're working with,
Okay.
they ask homeowners to enter into an adoption agreement, if you
Okay.
will.
That's it.
And it explained that watering for about a year is really critical. After
Okay.
that, not much to do.
Okay.
Watch it grow.
So it's just, that's interesting. So it's just that 1 year time frame and
Pretty
then
much.
the trees can be more self-sustaining.
That's true. That's
Right.
true.
And now is this citywide program? I know, Lenore, you
Yes.
said it's a grassroots program.
Citywide, absolutely, and we're trying to get community groups, kids, students with their families, to basically knock door to door to encourage and get these homeowners to sign up.
And what's been the response from the homeowners that you approach?
Well, actually, Greg and I and another person who works with us, we went out into the community, picked a place in Long Beach, and first of all, they didn't know anything about it, even though it's been publicized in local newspapers. And the response was very positive in terms of, wow, I'm glad I know about this. Maybe right now I can't take the time, but we referred them to the website. So we think that the more awareness there is, the more enthusiasm there's going to be.
Now, Greg, speaking of awareness now, I mean, some people are like, yeah, right, a tree, what's that really going to do?
Okay, I'll tell you. It's 50 pounds a year per tree.
Huh.
Now, there are 40,000 empty parkway spots in Long Beach. That's about 9.5 tons of CO2 per year pulled back out of the air. So it's important.
Right.
It's very important. Yeah.
It's interesting you say this because I grew up in Alabama. And I used to say, my grandfather, I would say, lessons of the farm. And I remember him taking a sapling of a pecan tree, and he told me, you know, son, I'll never get pecans or shade maybe under this tree, but someday you will. If you bring that to Southern California, it won't be a pecan tree, but if a youth or a child is a part of planting that tree,
Yeah.
by the time they get to college age, they might be able to sit under that tree.
Yeah.
Is that exciting in terms of engaging the younger population to be involved in our community?
Absolutely.
Do
I
you
would
find
hope
that?
so. You know,
Yeah.
I would hope so. And, you know, this effort is about them.
Okay. Now, speaking of the effort, you mentioned that you're working with the city.
Correct.
You mentioned that you're a small grassroots organization. What would you like to see to help momentum gain for this initiative? What would you like to see the community do to support your success?
Well, we could use a little help.
Okay.
We could add some members to our executive committee. If anybody out there is at all interested, you know, this is that's a worthwhile effort for sure.
Right.
So that's important. The other thing we'd like to tell homeowners, and there are 90,000 single-family homes in Long Beach, is if you've got room for a tree, do it.
Does it matter what kind of tree? I mentioned pecan
there's-
tree, but
there-
does
you
it
know,
matter?
There are, on private property, no.
Okay.
On the parkways, there are 20 or so approved trees. And so there's a huge selection. And basically, you go on the website, pick out the ones you want, and make a request, and it'll show up, planted and everything.
Okay.
That's, you know, a couple $100 value.
Lenore, what inspired you personally to take on such an
gosh.
initiative?
What inspires me? The future.
Right.
You know, the future. I mean, when you talk about, is it you know, heart moving to see these kids get involved and do this?
Yeah.
It's for them. You know, I have a responsibility to the future. So it's just planting a tree or two can make a difference, because there are trees being taken down all the time in the city for various reasons.
Yeah.
So they need to be replaced.
Well, speaking of that, I just heard recently in the news where I guess magnolia trees in Long Beach are being infected somehow.
Right.
How does that kind of go?
Well, it's very
contrary
sad. Long Beach loses 8,000 trees a year.
A year?
Yeah, they lose about 80 trees a year out of parkways and other areas on public land.
Wow.
Then private tree loss is the balance of it. So we're going backwards. So we need to amp up the amount of trees that are getting planted. Right now, there are 3 city programs. One is a fruit tree program. There's about 400 of those, but you plant that in your front yard if you want one.
Okay.
Then there's a program by the Neighborhood Resource Center that plants about 100 trees to 80 trees a month. So they're getting about 1,200 trees up per year. And then there's the Sustainability Department, which has probably the highest survival rate of trees being planted. And they're good for about 200 to 300. So we need to get people aware that it's time to ask for a tree and time to plant one.
So if I'm watching this and I'm not a part of any organized group, how would I get involved? Or if I am a part of a group, let's do it both ways. If I'm an individual who sees this and is inspired to make a difference, or if I'm a member of a group that would like to make a bigger difference, what would be my next step? Contact you guys or the city, or
We
what?
have a Facebook page,
Okay.
Trees to the Rescue, and it's easy to find us. So that's an easy way to.
And I know we had a picture. I don't know if we've showed it yet or not, but is that your logo?
That's our little
That's our logo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
if we see
then
that,
that's what you'll
we're on
see
the
on
right
Facebook.
page.
Okay.
Yeah. And in doing that, then I contact you, I message you, then I get a response from someone, and they tell
Absolutely.
us what the next steps are.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Most people are involved in some kind of a group, be it a
Okay.
church group, PTA,
Right.
Boy Scouts, Girl Scouts, you name it. They're involved in stuff like that. And if they're, retired and got some time on their hands and used to be an executive, join the committee. There's a lot to do. Like some of our ideas are other ways to encourage cities to sequester carbon. For example, you can put CO2 into concrete. Makes it stronger, use less cement. You end up with carbon neutral cement, which carbon has a horrible carbon footprint. That's one example of where a group like us could make a difference. We want to research the feasibility of a nursery, tree nursery that's volunteer run, so that trees are more available. A lot of trees to grow.
Right. Now, if I don't have shovels or I don't know how to do this, et cetera, that's where guidance from you guys or someone like you would come in, or how does that work?
You don't have to plant trees.
Okay.
The city will do the planting.
Yeah.
Ah, okay.
They'll
Yeah.
bring out the trees, they'll plant it for you. You
Okay.
just have to maintain it.
Just water it.
All right. Now, what about in parkways, though?
That's it.
And on a local home, would you have to plant it, or the city would plant it?
Yeah,
at your
we're
home?
encouraging people to plant it,
Okay, plant it,
with
okay.
their own funds
Gotcha.
at that point. But
Gotcha.
if you got room, think about your grandkids.
Right. What have been some of the barriers that you've come into in achieving the goals that you would like to achieve, be it political or logistic or volunteers, et cetera? What are some of the
We kind of were
barriers?
talking about that on the way here.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's unique just to our organization, but the topic of global warming, it's easy to just go about your life and think, well, that's not going to happen in my lifetime, or I won't be here. So it's a really kind of a psychological barrier that we're up against. And so we just have to put the awareness out there. That's a huge one, though. It's kind of a mind shift.
Yeah. Especially when it comes from the top of our nation, that it may not be real or not.
But change has to come from the community.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
In fact, that's probably the only place that change really, in a practical, do something manner, it really can be local and should be local.
Well, with the statistics that you were mentioning earlier about the impact, it's crucial. that we think of it in these terms.
Oh, yeah.
What would you say to that individual or that organization who's watching that you think is most important for them to take away from this interview? Let's start with you, Greg. Lenore's thinking about it.
I am.
Well, the most important thing is that we get involved. There are sustainability meetings once a month that are open to the public. Mm-hmm. We can show up. We can lend support for action. Mm-hmm. But action is the key thing. And planting a tree is something just about anybody can do. And so that's an important takeaway. Yeah.
And it's an easy add-on to those groups who want to be civically engaged, it sounds like. It's just
completely.
You've already got the template there for them to just plug into.
Yeah.
And the impact that they make can something that can be seen for years, if not generations to come. That's pretty amazing. What would you say, Lenore?
I'm just saying, it's an easy way to make a difference. Mm-hmm. If you want to be part of the group or you want to actually get some trees planted, it's really easy. So just contact us and we'll help you do it. Mm-hmm.
It sounds exciting, and I know that this has an impact in so many ways in our community. I know your work is important. I appreciate you guys as volunteers in our community. We will certainly have your contact information up for people to see. We certainly welcome you back to PatNet TV whenever you have that opportunity to share successes.
We'd love to come back.
All right. Well, we're out of time for this particular interview. But as I always say, we're never out of questions, so keep us informed, okay?
Thank you
and
so
thank
much.
You guys.
Yes.
We're going to take a short break. When we come back, we will talk to Ashley Aguirre and Rose Lozon from KLBP. You want to hear more about this, the Long Beach Public Media. Stay tuned for more of Long Beach Lens.
PatNet is a public access channel where they help up-and-coming people who want to make a difference in their community and also want to learn about starting their own show, learn about production, broadcasting. Just is a great start for somebody who actually don't necessarily want to go to school, but also get the experience.
Hi, I'm Vicki Vicious, and I'm one of the hosts for Road Dogs TV.
I'm Susie Q, Road Dogs TV.
People all the time, they've heard of the show, so they always ask, how do you do it? And they actually have this program, and they'll teach you how to use the equipment. They'll help you produce.
So we rent out the equipment, we get to use the studio, most importantly, get to share our art, our culture, and the people that we know to the rest of the community.
I'm not a technical person, so I was really scared to touch the equipment. But PatNet, taking the classes here made me feel really comfortable, and they let you practice. I just really like the hands-on, the experience, and it's a family atmosphere here, and I just love it. Everybody's so friendly, classes are fun, and people help with your shows, and it's great.
I think PatNet's been very helpful with the sense of I've met a lot of new people here. The networking is amazing. A lot of people have some good experiences where I can learn from. I've enjoyed myself here at PatNet.
Anyone that has the idea or wanting to see what it's like to be on camera, behind camera, be on TV, this is the best way to go about it, because if you're too afraid to do your own show, there's so many members in PatNet that need help. Whether it's in the background or foreground, it's a perfect opportunity for anybody that wants to have that access and to be able to learn something new. This is where you need to go.
Is your footage shaky? Does your screen constantly flip? Recording with your phone is such a hassle, but not anymore, thanks to phone stabilizers. These devices keep your phone stable no matter what position it's in. This allows you to get the perfect shot every time. At PatNet, not only will you have access to these stabilizers, but you'll also learn how to use them efficiently.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach. I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
I love Long Beach.
Because this is where I got my start and will continue to grow.
It's wonderful diversity.
It has awesome food festivals.
Because I like the beach.
Because of the beaches and the food.
It is a hub for all kinds of different artists of different platforms.
The great family feel.
The great food here.
Of course, diversity, its great neighborhoods, and its opportunities for families.
There's so much culture, art, and beauty in the city.
Because I'm born and raised here, and there's no place I'd rather be.
Welcome back. I'm Darick J. Simpson. Our next guests are exciting for me because they are from 99.1 FM KLBP, Long Beach Public Media. Please join me in welcoming Ashley Aguirre and Rose. Did I say it right? Lozon? Lozon. Ashley, you and I have been talking, better part of a year?
Yeah, I think
More.
almost 2 years.
2 years. Time is flying by. I say it's exciting because it's a new entity, and I look at you as like a sister effort in that we're the public television, but you're public radio. Tell us about it. What's going on?
Well, I'm glad that you consider us a sister organization because we're both in that public media world. But our station actually launched last year, December 19th, I believe, or 20th. I can't remember. We were kind of at the midnight cusp, and we actually became a licensed FCC radio station. We'd gotten the permit about 3 years before that. And so we have now been broadcasting for about a year out of one of our board members' houses, Isaac Svensson. I'd like to give him a quick little thing. But we are actually in the middle of moving into our permanent studios. So we got the keys for that about a month ago or so. And that studio has been dedicated by the Shannons family, who owns the Shannons complex. That's on Pine.
And it's downstairs, so giving people the visual, near the corner of Broadway and Pine. And you have to walk down the stairs. Like, I didn't even know that existed down there.
Yeah, so you go down there and you look in there, and we're being built in. I believe there's another bar going downstairs. So we have a nice visual window where at the bar you can hang out and you'll be able to look into the studio while we're kind of producing stuff. So we are planning a soft opening in the next couple months with a grand opening in January, and hoping to have a public facility just similar to PadNet, you know, where people can come in and learn and start producing some shows.
Now, I mentioned the location on the channel, but again, repeat that. And what's the coverage area? If I'm driving along in my car or on my bike or whatever the case may be, how do I find it?
Well, you can find us in the greater downtown Long Beach area. San Pedro and Wilmington is whereabouts we're covering.
I didn't realize I went over to San Pedro.
In Long Beach, we cover probably a little bit up until like Wardlow or so. And maybe Junipero. Juanapero.
Right, depending on who's saying it.
Yeah, who's saying it.
So to the east end, Juanapero, to the west, San Pedro, and to the north, about Wardlow. That's a pretty good.
But you can also hear us on klbp.org. And we are on TuneIn, so if you have a smart speaker and say, Alexa, play KLBP, we come up.
Very cool. Now, if Rose, we can't let her have all the airtime here. What's your role in all of this?
I'm the operations assistant, so I'm a member of pretty much all the committees, and I do a little engineering, the social media. I've helped do light carpentry work for the station. Event tabling, kind of just the
Now, when you come in touch with the community, what do you say to encourage them to get involved? Either as talent, because you need talent, right? You want content, much like we do, or as a supporter. What's your pitch to the community to get people involved?
Well, we pretty much, it's a platform to the community, so it's like giving a voice to whatever you find empowering, like whatever your talents are, whatever you're passionate about. If you want a radio show, if you are an artist, you know, we promote it on our social media, or it's just whatever you, whatever ways you want to express.
Rose is actually a perfect example of the kind of person that we started this platform for. Our board of directors from Long Beach Public Media was big in launching the project, but we always were just with the vision that we're building this platform and we're looking for people in our community. Currently, we're in an entirely volunteer-run model, and Rose has been one of our biggest volunteers who just kind of came on board, and she wanted to learn everything. I don't believe you had any radio experience before that, right?
I had none. We were at Busker Fest, and Isaac Simpson was tabling, and I was just like, well, I guess I'll start a radio show. So it all came from that. It was just the idea of like, how do I get involved in this? And then it stemmed from there.
So I think something Rose said is important, is like playing to your strengths. So like, for instance, when you and I last met, I mentioned that I was pursuing a podcast, and you said, wow, well, you should have something on radio. And I thought, well, I hadn't thought of that. But whether it be me being someone who's a writer and a poet, or someone who's artistic, or someone who loves dogs, I mean, there's no limit to what the content could be, right? Even musicians.
Yeah, even when we were talking about the programming, we very strategically put out a call for public submissions when we were getting ready to launch. We actually worked backward in creating the mission for what we wanted to do with the station by kind of seeing what was missing from those public submissions.
Gotcha.
But we didn't want to come at it and say, we're dictating this kind of content. We wanted to see what was happening in our community for that same reason that you just said. You know, you never know what kind of show you're going to get. Rose has a really interesting show called Dancing on the Astral Plane that opens up with usually.
It's
You dance?
it's very embarrassing dancing, but it's kind of like I view it as
Sounds
a
like me,
form, like a little bit of meditation. It's like witchcraft and like freak folk kind of. So it's.
That's what I would have thought of. Witchcraft and free folk. Okay.
So it's all sorts of. It's been an eclectic mix right now.
Yeah.
We have a law show now, which is great.
Oh, cool.
We have This is Long Beach, which Leadership Long Beach is producing to do stories around the story
good.
or around the city. But we have a lot of music programming too. So from all over the place, from the Great American Songbook to new contemporary music, country, blues, everything.
Now, I know Isaac is amazing. I've met him, and I know he's very involved on the technical side. But is there training? Like, let's say if I do want to come and do that, do you train me on how to use the board and how to do everything? And if so, how do I go about signing up and making that happen?
So if you go to our website, klbp.org, there are volunteer opportunities on there. So if you go on there and look at it, but we actually host workshops pretty frequently, and we communicate via our email list and let people know when those opportunities are happening. So now that we have the studio, we'll be doing more
I
of the
know
work.
we're showing some pictures. What is going on? And we've just been showing randomly. What are these some of your opportunities to train or to teach, or what?
This one in particular is one of our voice workshops. So we, one of our biggest supporters of our station is a woman named Andrea Toyes, who is the senior casting director and voice director at Blizzard Entertainment, the video game. So she ran a really beautiful workshop called Finding Your Voice. And so aside from doing the technical training, we're also kind of looking at that ongoing development of our programs, because a lot of the people who are doing shows are brand new, are people who maybe never did radio, and so they're learning how to build their personality as well.
And it sounds like you have a nurturing group too involved. I mean, I know your board is amazing, and it sounds like the members, much like here at PadNet, where we have member mixers, et cetera, are nurturing to help people. So I guess I'm saying all that to say, if I'm looking at your interview, I'm not alone. I need to know that you're going to embrace me, right? Rose is going to look out for me. You're going to look out for me, Isaac. It's that kind of environment, correct?
It's kind of turning into a nice little KLBP family, and part of that is the people who are on our on-air talent are more than just on-air talent. They're helping behind the scenes too. So the station is it's not just the people that you're hearing on air. They're not just coming in. They're working behind the scenes too in some capacity, volunteering.
And I know you guys walked me down to the studio when it was just like studs. It was nothing there. Now I gotta believe it's amazing. And I know one of the conversations that we've been having with you is collaborating with PadNet to maybe have a camera, so that not only are you going to be on the radio, but possibly creating video content for PadNet. How has that gone over with your side of the house in terms of excitement about that possibility?
Everyone's excited about it. We have, we've actually been talking about maybe even some of the music DJs doing some projections, so that you kind of get this live mixing feeling. Aside from doing the traditional kind of visuals of seeing someone get interviewed, we were just thinking about ways that you could make it really interesting too. So on our end, everyone's really excited to have that visual component as well.
Yeah. Rose, what keeps you excited about being involved, other than dancing with witches and all of that?
I think just how empowering to me it feels for the community. I've always been kind of a fangirl about Long Beach since I moved here.
Okay.
And what's kind of exciting is besides just our programs, all the in-between time, it's all local music. And that was really fun for me, like going out to the community, going to shows specifically to network with musicians to get them on our air. So it's just like an open platform. Like even if you're not, like I'm not a musician, but I really love music, so I have my own show, but you know, musicians have.
So that's a key point then, that in between whatever the recorded shows are that someone may do in your studio, you're bringing in other content from local musicians. That's a great way for someone to be channel surfing.
Rose was really big in leading that.
Okay.
You know, we were talking about what do you play in those hours where we don't have our pre-produced content. So it's an automated shuffle of all Long Beach music.
Okay. So for those who are watching, what would you guys like to leave them with as that thought, that follow-up, that call to action? Let's start with you, Ashley. What would you like to leave them with?
Well, I have two.
Okay.
One is obviously we need support like any nonprofit organization, and that support is crucial because not only do we want to keep this platform going, but we're hoping that long term this can actually generate really meaningful and impactful media jobs in our community.
Okay.
So we want to see it run for a long time. And the other is if you have time, a skill, even if you don't have a skill and want to learn a radio skill, volunteer. We are a volunteer-run organization, and that's what keeps us going.
Come down and hang out with some cool people, huh? Rose, any closing thoughts for you that you'd like to share?
Oh yeah, just whatever you're interested in, there's something that we can find for you to do.
Just come on down, right? Yeah, we're ready. You guys are amazing, and I'm just so excited for you, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you.
Because I know this community can really use something like that. Another local voice. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to thank Greg Stewart and Lenore Brown from Trees to the Rescue, and of course Ashley Aguirre and Rose Lozon from KLBP for joining us on today's show, you guys. Be sure to follow PatNet TV on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram for the latest updates. We are also welcoming your comments and thoughts regarding this show as we strive to make Long Beach Lens a favorite source of local news, information, and entertainment. This show has been brought to you with support from the Long Beach Community Action Partnership. Thank you for watching Long Beach Lens.